Well. I think it was in the days long before podcasts even existed, or at least when they were in their infancy, that Notts County last won their opening day of the season 5-0. Chloe, you would have been about 7. Les, you'd have been about 83. Bradford City, we all know what happened with that with the Munto team. 5-0 against Barnet. Let's enjoy it and let's revel in it tonight. Chloe was there. I wasn't. I'll tell you a little story in a minute. Got taken ill, so I missed that one. Great one to be ill for, but never mind. Leslie Brad, club's all-time record goal scorer, is joining us tonight. He'll be telling us about how he is getting together the Cyril era team, a championship and a promotion winning team. Got some great names and Les's old colleagues coming to Meadow Lane on Saturday against Torquay and Les will tell you how you can get to see them, maybe get a few autographs in your scrapbooks and photos as well. Later this week, we will be back on Wednesday evening, 7 till 8. We'll be joined by Nottingham Post's Lee Curtis, and we'll also be joined by a friend of the show, a man with a foot who's had feet in both camps, Kevin Nicholson, from the Riviera, where he is currently head of coaching at Exeter City, formerly manager of Torquay, former player, great escape artiste against Huddersfield. They'll be joining us on Wednesday. So plenty to get through. 1 or 2 questions, thoughts, observations. Welcome to everyone for joining in. Duncan Comrie, good evening, everyone. Great start to the new season. Let's keep this positive vibe going. MFOL, we've started as we mean to go on. Chloe, you were there. What was it like?
Wow, there's not many words for it, is there? I don't think anyone woke up that morning and think, we'll win 5-0 today. It's always difficult first game of the season, what's going to happen if they gelled. You can't really look into pre-season too deeply. And I think it was a little bit of a game of two halves. Especially after the first half, I don't think anyone would have said we'd have won 5-0, maybe win the game. But yeah, it was a great atmosphere as well. There were so many Notts fans, and it was just so glad to be back and out of an away game, and everyone was happy. So it's exactly what you wanted.
Yeah, because I think the stat is that the last time fans have been able to travel to a Notts away game was at Barrow, and it does seem eons ago. I was at that one, and it just seems a light year away. And presumably, I was listening to the commentary with Charlie Slater and to Mark Stallard. Very good, actually, I have to say. They do a very good job. It's about the first time I've ever actually listened to one, because normally I'm at all the games. And it certainly seemed, in the second half, all the fans at the one end, to be a great carnival atmosphere.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of fans, especially after we got the first couple, that just stayed at the bottom, and then they could celebrate with the players. And it was just a great atmosphere to be around, chanting all game, singing all game. And I think we probably outnumbered Barnet in the end, because they didn't take many. So it just kind of added to the occasion. And it was great that we could put on a performance like that and have everyone back. It was great to see like familiar faces and new faces and get talking to people like on the way and whilst you were there. So thoroughly enjoyable.
Yeah, if that don't get you National League Performance of the Week, I don't know what does. They'll probably give it to Dagenham and Redbridge, who I tipped, by the way, only one game, to be the surprise package. And look what they go and do at Stockport. Les, you've been in the game a long, long time. And I think when you look at the result, clearly 5-0 is an unbelievable result away from home. It's very rare in my experience where just about every single box that could be ticked in that game was ticked. You score 5 away from home. First game, first win, first away win. Okay. Then you drill down. Your 3 strikers all score on the first game. You keep a clean sheet for your goalkeeper and your back line. Your midfield, we saw Ed Francis dink 2 glorious balls in for 2 goals. We score 3 days after we appoint a set piece coach, direct from a set piece. Touch wood. We've not picked up any injuries. What an incredible set of in sequence that is. That don't happen many times in football, does it, Les?
It certainly doesn't. I was there on Saturday, Paul, and if I'm perfectly honest with you, I'll say I was a little disappointed that we haven't won 8. And the reason I say that, I thought we played some very good football in the first half. We had opportunities, but the final pass, a couple of times we took a shot from 25 yards when there was maybe a better pass, little, out to the right, out to the left. And no, I thought we could quite easily have gone in 3 or 4 up at half time as well, although they had a good chance. The second half was different. We made sure that when we got into situations where it was dangerous, we picked out the right man. Now, just before we move off from there, Barnet played a game where they didn't high press, and we haven't experienced that, I don't think, in the pre-season matches. Certainly not at Solihull. Solihull didn't let us rest. They pushed on us, and we found that difficult. Barnet, let us keep possession basically until probably of the last third when they pushed on us a little there, and we found that to our advantage on Saturday. So I'm not sure. Torquay certainly don't play that way, or they didn't play that way last season. So I thought it was an excellent performance for 90 minutes. We just didn't pick out the right ones in the first half. But to go away and score 5 and keep a clean sheet, you can't ask for anything more than that. I never experienced that in my life. So congratulations to the head coach and the backroom staff and all of the players. It was wonderful. And to score the 5 goals in front of the Notts fans was just absolutely magnificent.
Plenty of questions, observations and thoughts coming in. Max Seth says, what a team, what a performance, best club in the National League. Ballum, that's I think our resident Sutton United fan, is it? Hello everyone, good away on Saturday, hopefully you can start the season good and continue to win matches. Jurgen Halligan says, not one team won at home in the National League. Is that right? Okay, didn't really notice that. Very odd. Colin Metcalf says, I'm sure Torquay won't afford us the space Barnet did. I think that's kind of what you were alluding to there, Les. But I'm equally sure our squad has the ability to deal with the nitty-gritty non-league stuff to a man. Notts was superb on Saturday. What a memory. NCC Magpie, imagine how quiet it was today at work in South Devon. Not one Torquay supporter asked the score. Did you go in your Altrincham shirt would be the obvious question. Yes, my apologies. Connell did limp off second half. Hope it's nothing too serious. Alan Cotty says, after watching so many streamed games last season, it was strange to have to listen to the commentary, but what a great commentary it was, and tremendous stuff. Chloe, Les mentioned it as well. Second half performance, 10, 11 out of 10. I mean, what's that like as you troop out of the ground? A, having watched a game, and B, being able to, communicate with those around you. You're walking out. I think you went down with your granddad on the train. What's that camaraderie like? Because that's something we haven't been able to do, have we? And by all means, anyone out there that's watching this now, tell us your stories of how did you get down there in the car, stopping off, whatever. I mean, what was that like to get that feeling back again after 18 months or so?
Well, it's a little bit weird because it didn't feel like we'd been away for that long. We were speaking to my granddad and it felt really normal, and it felt like it hadn't been 18 months, and it was just really good to be back. It felt really kind of safe to be there, and I think everyone was kind of like relaxed. And then obviously the game came around, and even before the game the mood was positive. Traveling down, going through London, I know a lot of people had like a good weekend in London. We've got lots more of them coming up with all the National League clubs that are down that way. But it's great to start off in the capital. It's always a good place to go. And then kind of the atmosphere. You also see a lot of other fans because we go to St Pancras. So it's nice to see everyone making their trips here, there and everywhere. Was on the underground with some Woking fans. I think they were going to Wealdstone, which is kind of the same way as Barnet. But yeah, and then to get to the ground, speak to Notts fans, and then afterwards, I mean, it was a great atmosphere. Normally, you see a lot of people leave early, like 5 minutes early from an away game to either travel home or get the train, and pretty much everyone stayed and clapped until literally Ian Burchnall walked down the tunnel. So it was a great atmosphere, and even to come out of it, everyone's just so pleased. And I think the general mood was, we can't wait for the next one. We've just got over this one, and everyone's already excited to go back to Meadow Lane on Saturday. So hopefully, like Les says, obviously it's going to be, I'd assume, a bit more of a test, a bit of a different test as well. We played a lot of balls over the top second half, and I don't think you'll get away with them as much when you're against someone that's supposedly defensively. But we've got enough, and we showed second half that we can switch up the play, we can do something different, we can use the wings. And yeah, it was very positive and great to be back.
Yeah, I think my lad Harry went down, and one of his mates, Emilio's big Notts fan, like the rest of us, and Emilio managed to track down, which was more than the press managed at the Hive. He managed to track down Harry Kewell, and I'm not sure whether Harry Kewell wanted to hug Emilio and hear Emilio say, you know, bad luck, you just got edged out. But anyway, Harry Kewell apparently took it all in very good faith, as Emilio wished him good luck for the rest of the season, which I'm sure meant an awful lot to Harry Kewell at the time, having lost 5-0 on his home debut in front of fans. Kelvin Hallam says, travelled down in the car, felt a breath of fresh air, felt like a kid on Christmas Day. That's a nice way of putting it. Jurgen Halligan, I drove down and parked on the main road as bottleneck to ground and £8 to park. Took me ages to get out of Edgware. It takes ages to get out of anywhere in London, I normally find. I normally park up at Cannons Park tube station if ever we have to go back there again in the not too distant future. Colin Metcalf, Chloe, you were spotted walking up the steps on Saturday, was going to say hello, but didn't want her to think I was on the pull. And my voice had totally gone by then. What a team we have this season. Brackets, I am 83. No, he didn't actually say he was 83, but anyway. Elliot Burrows, great unity and sing-song under the stand pre-game. Brilliant party down the front. Felt like people didn't want to leave. Everyone's getting to the swing of this. Dale Pikett, we got there by train for 9:30 into London King's Cross, and spent the day there before the game. Les, what about your travel arrangements? What did you do down there?
I was very fortunate to get a lift, and my arrangements were travelling down with the directors of Notts County. And, I was honoured to be in the directors' box seating area. So it was wonderful. It gave me a very clear view of the Notts supporters, and they were absolutely magnificent. We got a slight concern just before the game because we were told that the turnstiles weren't operating correctly, the scanners weren't working, and there was large queues building up. So I don't know how they dealt with that, whether they let the fans in or not. But I noticed one or two did come in a little bit later. But there was a lot in there, and I'm sure if you ask each and every single player, they will say they just love that. They've missed that. And I'm sure it goes hand in hand, scoring 5 goals in front of the crowd. So it just shows how important the fans are to the club. And we just hope they come down in large numbers on Saturday, because it is I know Torquay lost on Saturday, but make no mistake, there'll be a tough nut to crack. And the supporters need to help the lads as well.
I'm sure they will get behind the team, Les. I wasn't aware of the turnstiles, but of course, I think watching Sky yesterday, Southampton didn't get a load of their fans in until half time when they were playing Manchester United, and they were showing you the queues outside the ground. I'm guessing with COVID and any extra precautions that have to be taken, a little bit more difficult to get people in. It's kind of how everything went really, really well for us on Saturday. And honestly, I'm not rubbing this in, genuinely. But of course, Forest had a bit of a tough time at Stoke, lost 2-1. And I don't know whether your granddad pulled the trains or not, Chloe. All the trains back, I don't know whether you know this, Les, all the trains back from Stoke after the game where Forest were on Saturday in their thousands, they were all cancelled. So they had to put them on buses, emergency buses, and get them all home. I don't quite know what went on, but like there are some days, aren't there, when everything goes right. And there are other days where it just doesn't matter what you do, everything seems to go wrong. Kelvin Hallam adds, got some funny looks from others at service stations with the new away kit on. Colin Metcalf, one of those games at Barnet that you just didn't want to end. I honestly could have watched another 90 minutes. We were that good. Aaron Porter says, seeing Cal and Ruben linking up was frightening. As the season grows, so will they. Every defence in this league should be petrified. Max Seth, after reviewing and scrutinising the goals from the club's website, what I really like is Burchnall's reaction to every goal. His enthusiasm and joy is something I personally really like from a manager. Chris B., Barnet chairman, released a statement about issues they had all week off field. Sounds like it was close to getting called off. I'd not heard that. The specialists, of course, in getting games postponed would appear to be Jim Parmenter and Dover, who managed to get another one off with COVID on the opening day of the season. Clearly, they need to speak to him to work out how to do it within the rules. Clearly, within the rules. Okay. 90 minutes gone. We're top of the league. We're all full of the joys of summer and all the rest of it. As a player, Les, it's 3 points out of potentially something like 93 that we will need to get automatic if that's the primary aim for this season. So it's, I worked out something like about 2.7% of the points total we require. But what it does on the opening game, presumably this gets all the players, if they weren't already, coaches, head coach, everyone behind the scenes, totally buying in to a philosophy that Ian is attempting to create. And that sure as hell makes it a lot easier, I'm guessing, on the training ground this week than it does, for instance, Stockport, who took a surprise home defeat at the hands of Dagenham and Redbridge, and Wrexham, who get a bit of a kick in the teeth with a stoppage time equaliser conceded at Sutton. Yeah, absolutely.
Going back to my days and Jimmy Cyril, a lot of the lads used to smile and possibly not agree with everything he said, but we had great respect for him because he taught us things on the training ground that were quite simple, and we went into games using those simple methods, and those simple methods got us goals, got us wins, and as time went on, we felt we were unbeatable. And Ian and his backroom team will be doing just the same, and in fact, I know they're doing the same. I know they're working on corners. We look at the second goal, and that corner that came so low and Ruben came in, stuck it in. That hasn't just happened. That's been a lot of work on the training ground that has brought that goal in there. We saw Jim O'Brien come in. We saw him break through, was it 3-4 times? And a wonderful pass for Kyle just to stick in the net. And then another one. You know, that's come through a hell of a lot of work. That hasn't just happened. And that's a lot of big ticks to the head coach. And because of that, the players will be absolutely buzzing. They will not be able to wait to come into training this week. They will not be able to wait to get stuck into Torquay. Now, had they not got that on Saturday at Barnet, probably you know, if they come away with a defeat like they did from Dover last season, you're on a bit of a downer. You're not going into the next game as positive. You know, we've got 2 tough games. We've got Torquay, who got to the playoff final. We've got Wrexham, and we know all where they're coming from. So it could not be a better time for the team to have got a result like that moving into this weekend.
Clearly, Chloe, we're going to be out in our thousands on Saturday against Torquay, yeah?
Oh, absolutely. Unfortunately, I can't make it, and I am gutted because it's a big one. I imagine it's going to be a little bit feisty with what happened over the summer and the little Twitter debates that went on. But I can imagine it's going to be another very good game. I can just see kind of same again, similar team, similar style of play. Obviously, it's going to be more difficult, and I expect we're going to be not have as much time on the ball. But we've got the quality to match teams like that and better teams like that. So I'm actually at Leeds Festival, so getting a signal is going to be a struggle. So I don't know when I'm going to find out the result. But I've told people that are going to text me. I might not be able to see it, but hopefully I'll get a ping of signal and find out that we've won. Fingers crossed. And then I'll be back. So I'll be driving back Monday morning to get back to Nottingham to drive to Wrexham. So it's all go this weekend. But hopefully, I'd like to see us get at least 3 points out of the 2 games. I think that'd be fair. I think they're 2 difficult sides, and Wrexham's going to be a tough place to go. And then I was speaking to a lot of people. They were like, "No, I want 4 points." So I think people are getting a little bit optimistic, which is great to see after a result like that. You expect us, everybody, to be kind of optimistic and hope for the best. But I would definitely like to see 3 points out of the 2 games. I think that'd get us off to a really good start.
Dale Perkett adds, Paul, in the supporters bar at Barnet had only cans of beer, no tables and chairs. Or he said put cheers, I think he means chairs. And the food was cold. And the TVs did not work, and the queues were out the door for a drink. But look on the bright side, Dale. They had some very good hospitality on the pitch with their back four, didn't they? That makes it a bit more bearable and palatable. I'm a great believer in you should treat people how they treat you. So genuinely, on Saturday, I would not be allowing Torquay's media into the ground. I wouldn't. I know Jason will do the right thing, the proper thing, and be proper and professional. I wouldn't allow him in. Wouldn't let our lot in down there. All sorts of problems. We should show a bit of unity, get a siege mentality going, and just say, Operation Reciprocity. You ain't coming in. If we take a fine from the National League for it, that's fine. We'll take the fine. You know, I know we won't. But, you know, I think sometimes you need to fight fire with fire. I'm sure if Neil Warnock was still around, Les, he'd be coming up with some sort of welcome for Torquay, wouldn't he? He never missed a chance to get even. If the showers were cold somewhere, they'd be cold when they came to Meadow Lane.
Yes, any opportunity Neil would grasp and use, but I'm not so sure. Does it mean that you're dropping down to their level if you take that way? I think, do you have to be above that? You know, we are a big club. Do we want to drop down to those levels? Let us do it the right way and beat them, and then just pack them off nicely. That's the way I see it.
I'm not going to name the person, but you do remember, don't you? When a very illustrious former head coach came back to this club, and they looked at the dressing rooms, and they thought that the away dressing room was far too big, far too spacious, and so they cut it in half. They blocked off the dressing room off to make the away dressing room half as small. Correct, Les? Were you not aware of that one?
Sorry, you talking to me?
Yeah. Had you not heard that story?
Is that the one with Kevin Nolan?
Well, he may have done it as well. I wasn't thinking. I was trying
Nolan took over
guilty here, but we definitely.
Nolan took over as manager, and he remembered coming up playing at Meadow Lane and such a huge dressing room, which he used to love to change in, and he wanted to do something that made Meadow Lane not so attractive for opposition teams to come and play. So he extended the small boot room, double-sized it, and it cut down the dressing room by half. And not only did it do that, it was shaped in such a way that the manager making his team talk, all the players couldn't see him. So yeah, it was not the best. And I think there was several complaints went into the league, and I think the league intervened and got Notts County to make it a little bigger, shall we say.
Hey, mind you, before Kevin came, our home record was a disgrace. It was bloody good while he was here. Yeah,
and that helped towards it. Kevin was a little bit like Neil. Any opportunity to stir a little bit, then go ahead with it.
Yeah, no, I'm all for that. I'm all for that. Remember the Battle of London Road at Peterborough, where quite a few of the Peterborough players were and coaching staff were implicated, and miraculously, the closed circuit TV in the tunnel disappeared. Wasn't working. So obviously someone had managed to get hold of the videotape, pull it all out, and poor old Mark Draper pleaded guilty, didn't he? Everyone else pleaded not guilty, and of course there was no video evidence, so everybody else got off, and Drape's copped a £500 fine because he pleaded guilty, because he thought I'll get away with it fairly quickly then. Yeah. So but anyway, that's just me. I don't like people taking liberties. If people treat you badly, treat them badly as well. I can't believe, Les, if a centre half kicked you didn't get some retribution. I know that you're going to tell me out while I scored, which you probably did, but it would have been even better if you'd scored and kicked him back.
Well, actually, when I walked into Meadow Lane, I was met by the captain, Alex Gibson, who shook my hand, and he says, playing in this league, you've come down 2 divisions from Division 2 to 4, you're going to get kicked. You're going to get kicked a lot. He says, just get up, look them in the eye, smile, let them know that they haven't hurt you, and that will panic them more than anything else. And I try to adopt that sort of philosophy in my thinking. And you knew you was going to go into a battle, and for me, as long as it was a fair and honest battle, I dished a bit out as well. I got kicked, and we generally shook hands at the end of the game and disappeared as friends.
Yeah. Okay, let's just that probably leads us on to Saturday. Now you have put together a kind of a mini reunion. It's not easy with COVID and all the displacement of fixtures and everything else, but you are putting together a group of the championship and promotion winning team of the early 70s. Just tell me a little bit about who's coming along and what you've got planned for Saturday.
Yeah, last year, obviously looking through the records, and I knew myself that we were coming very close to the first promotion with Jimmy Cyril, which took place in 1971. And wow,
50th anniversary.
Time has flown past there, and I thought we ought to celebrate that. And so I checked the records, and there were 30 players that actually made one or more appearances over the 2 promotions that we had in those 3 years in the 70s. Sadly, 10 of those are no longer with us, and I got in contact with the other 20, and I've managed to get, I think, 11 who will be coming along to remember those really happy days in the Jimmy Cyril era, and how the crowds came along and supported. We had a fantastic attendance during that season when Tony Aitley made his debut of I think it was 21,000. That's unheard of, isn't it? And anyway, Tony can't be with us. He sadly passed away. But I've got Barry Watling, who during that season saved 6 consecutive penalties. Roy Brown, who followed Barry and was a goalkeeper when we got promoted from the old 3rd to the 2nd division. Bob Worthington's coming along, and we've got probably the greatest player that ever played for Notts, Don Masson, alongside Dave Needham, Brian Stubbs. Those 3, I think, are second, third, and something like fifth in the highest appearances for Notts. And Stevie Carter, who a lot of talking about, is probably one of the best goals that they've seen Notts County score, on the one at Fulham at Craven Cottage, when he picked it up on his own box and went through and stuck it in the top corner. Also, a couple of lads who didn't get the opportunity of making too many appearances. Paul Dyer and Terry Cooper are joining us. So, we're coming together just after 11 o'clock. We're going to have a natter and a get together and talk about old times. And then at 12:30, we're making our way into I call it the Meadow Club. It's the Broken Wheelbarrow. And we're going to sit in there for 3/4 of an hour, and sign any memorabilia that any fans want us to sign, and mix with the supporters, chat to them. And following that, we'll be making our way into the hospitality facilities, into the Directors Club members and the 1862, where we're going to be introduced to the guests in there and have a chat with them all. COVID restricts us from going down on the pitch side onto the pitch to wave to the fans. So at half time, when the whistle blows, we're going to be getting together on the balcony in the Derek Pavey stand to be introduced to the fans and just acknowledge, hopefully, some nice applause.
So to recap then, Les, everyone gets to see the players from the balcony at half time. Those in hospitality will have in the Pavis will obviously have a chance to meet. And for the general public, for Notts fans in general, if they get along to the supporters bar, whatever we wish to call it these days,
the Broken Wheelbarrow,
then the Magpie Club, then
from 12:30 till about 1:15,
and they can just come in, get some autographs, photos within reason. We've got to be a bit careful with COVID regulations. We understand that. But anyone that wants to come along, see them, just see what they all look like after all these years. I doubt many of them have as aged as well as you, Les.
Bob Worthington still looks like he could play.
I tell you what, Bob Worthington's hair, he had more hair. He's got more hair now than when I was about 20. And it's still dark black, jet black, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm going to ask him what he's taking. And Don as well.
Yeah,
Don will be celebrating his 75th birthday on Thursday.
Will he?
He will, yeah.
Right, and presumably, if you want to get a copy of his book, we've already
absolutely, he'll be there to sign copies of his book if people want that as well.
Excellent. And Don's another one that's aged pretty well, hasn't he?
Absolutely.
Remarkably well, to be fair.
Yeah.
Dave Needham, of course, is a big fan's favourite. He came up for your book launch, but we've not necessarily seen a massive amount of him at Meadow Lane over the years. He's been in and out of Spain a little bit, but back kind of in the region again at the moment, yeah?
Yeah, he was heavily occupied with his business, and he also had, as you know, property over in Spain, and spent a lot of time over there. In recent years, he's been struggling a little with his knees, just like myself. He needs knee replacement. He's reluctant to get it done, but he said he's going to be able just to manage to walk from the car park to the main gate before the knees give in. But I must say, in speaking to all the lads, getting them together, they talk so highly and fondly of the 70s years with Jimmy Cyril as being so high in their memories that they wouldn't want to miss a reunion and getting back together. And I just think that's wonderful that you've got a group of players that they're always asking about Notts County. What you've got to get out of this league. They want them to get, you know what I mean? They want to win so much, and just a great set of lads, and they're wonderful. The Notts County through and through.
It's I mean, and Chloe's been waiting very patiently while we've been talking there, and I think kind of trying to link the two. when you are Les Brad, the club's record goal scorer, when you are in your 50s, like me, it is inevitable that you focus on some of the most successful days following the club, when they were climbing the divisions, when they were in the top flight under Cyril and Wilkinson, and latterly under Neil Warnock. When you are of a new millennial era, I think that's the correct phrase, Chloe. It's not been great. Let's not beat around the bush. Put into context, you're what, 19, 20 now, Chloe?
Yeah, 20.
Where does Saturday's game figure for you? If you were drawing up your top 5 games or things, where does that match sit? Because even when we've got to a Wembley final, you've not been, well, none of us have been allowed to go. So in terms of attending a Notts match, where would you rank Saturday?
Very highly. Must be in my top 5. I haven't kind of sit back and thought what my favourite Notts games are. I think the Liverpool game's got to be up there. That was pretty special. We took them to extra time. The Brentford game has got to be up there. And just especially away games, they stick out. I feel like that it's more of a day, it's more of an experience, and you are always a little bit of the underdogs going away. So it's definitely must be top 5 for me. And it just felt really special. Not only to just only be back after COVID. Obviously, we've had a couple of disappointing ends to the seasons with missing out on playoffs. But it does feel special this time around. Obviously, we're early days and nobody wants to kind of rush ahead. And there's a lot of games to go. There's a lot of big clubs we've got to face. There's a lot of people that have signed a lot of players, spent a lot of money. And we've kind of recouped what we've got and added some extras. And it'll be really exciting to see us work with what we've got. We've not really splashed the cash. So it'll be really interesting to see if we are up there. I was looking at the, the kind of highlights that they put on TV. I think it's around 10 o'clock, like the National League. And they've never got anything good to say about us, whether we win 5-0 or what. There's something about them. They never want to talk about Notts. And I kind of like that. I kind of like that we're a little bit of an underdog to some people. And I think there was 4 of them on, and only one of them had us in playoffs. And I was shocked, to be honest. I know we're a little bit biased because we support them and we see them every week, but it was kind of shocking there was barely a mention about our win. It was more what are Barnet's problems. But I kind of like that we're maybe under the radar a little bit, whereas the last few seasons we've been the ones to beat. This season, I think we just stay a little bit quiet. Obviously, that wasn't a quiet start to the season by all means. But hopefully we'll surprise a lot of people, and it's starting well. But yeah, it definitely ranks up there. And just to be back and then start like that, play well, like you said, you reeled off everything that could have possibly happened. Our front 3 scoring in the first game, an away win, a clean sheet. It all just added to the great day that it was. And I think we'll remember it for a long time. And it might even be kind of the game of the season come the end of the season. But we'll see what happens. There's a lot that's going to happen between now and the end of the season.
We all did our top 7s, didn't we? I think I had Notts top. You had Notts pretty near the top. It's very difficult. As a result of that 90 minutes, do you feel more confident? I'm sure you don't feel less confident, or in the scheme of things, you don't attach that much emphasis to it because it's only the one game.
Yeah, I think we've got to sit back and think realistically. You've got to beat what's in front of you. And we was having this conversation with a few people. A lot of people say it's only Barnet, and I know they obviously had a bit of a poorer start to the end to last season. And we've got big games coming up in Torquay and Wrexham, but you can only beat what's in front of you. We've seen numerous times where we've even lost or drawn to teams that there's a lot of kind of part-time players. They've got other jobs, and we've lost to them, we've drawn to them, and you can't rule anyone out in this league. And to go away, you never know what the first game's going to be like, how settled their team is, how settled our team is. But it's just, you've got to look at it as positive. It's only a positive. And we can build on that. And it was really exciting to see the difference at half time. I know Les says that we probably came out the better side in the first half, which I completely agree with. But there was a lot that was kind of like, how could I put it? We were trying to play the perfect pass all first half. We were trying to score the perfect goal. I think Kyle Wotton dummied a couple in the box, and you just think, just shoot. You need to be a little bit selfish. And we came out second half and we used the width a lot better than what we did in the first half. We linked up so much better. And we got braver on the ball. You know, once we'd scored that one or two, balls over the top. And I am always have been a big Jim O'Brien fan. And I laugh about it with my granddad and a few of my friends. But last season, I think the only person that I kind of had a general feeling of speaking to other fans, speaking to my friends, speaking to my family, that maybe one of the ones in the retained list, he was kind of, some people were like, should have kept him, some should have got rid, and I was always, he's going to be really important to us this season. Obviously with Doyle dropping out and just the kind of change in midfield, there's been a big change in midfield this season. But since Burchnall's come in and kind of played him that further forward, he's going to have a vital role coming on in games. He scored that hat-trick. I think it was Maidenhead away. And he just offers us something else. And then, of course, he came on, had a great performance, linked up Kyle Wotton to score his goal, scored a goal himself that was a great finish. And I kind of sat there quite smug thinking, I told you so. But hopefully he can carry on that kind of performance. And I imagine he's really vital in the dressing room as well. So just wanted to mention a bit of Jim O'Brien there, because I am a big advocate of his. But in all, I think you've got to be realistic. It's one game, and maybe it is one of the poorer sides in the league. Not that you expect to win everywhere you go, but it's only a positive. But like I say, there's a lot of teams to beat. There's a lot of games to be played, and we'll kind of just see how it goes. But definitely a positive step forward and makes me feel a lot more confident in my top three that I've had us in.
Few more observations coming in from Alan Cotty. 1970-71, which was the championship season and the first one under Jimmy. The year I started supporting Notts, a great year. Duncan Comrie, my first match was in 73. I've got so many great memories, and hopefully this new set of players and staff can add to them. Ballum says, how much was the tickets for the match on Saturday? £22, I think. I bought one, couldn't go. I won't bother asking for a refund. That'll probably be rubbing a bit of salt into Barnet's wounds, really, wouldn't it? A lot of games to be played, says Bellum. That's true, Chloe. More finals coming up to win. Killer line, how many times did we drop points against poorer sides last season? I'll throw out two opening day games that I was able to get to. One is an obvious one, Leslie. I was 18. Aston Villa were the league champions. Notts County back in the first division for the first time in just under 60 years. Aston Villa 0, Notts County 1. Ian McCulloch header from a Paul Hooks corner. And another one, opening day, that was a massive shock. I'm not sure if you were playing, because there was a load of them out injured. 1974. Now, I've got to remember the score. I was only 11. It was Crystal Palace 1. I think Notts County 4, Les. And that was Crystal Palace having come down with all the big names. Terry Venables, Peter Taylor was playing. They had all these fancy tracksuits in the 70s with their nicknames on the back, the Joker, the Maestro, the Entertainer. And out come Jimmy's Odds and Sprogs. Were you involved in that one? Because that was a memorable day. A memorable day.
Now, both David Needham and myself were not able to play through injuries, and Jimmy Cyril sent us both to watch our next opponent, Sunderland, who were playing at home. So we've watched this game, jumped in. David was driving, and we were on our way back, switch on the radio, and the result came through. Crystal Palace 1, Notts County 4. And I turned around, looked at him. He looked at me. Wow, we just could not believe. And I think the next game was it a League Cup game against, was it Doncaster, and we lost that game at home, and then David and I both got back in them the following Saturday. But yes, I can well remember the start of that season.
I've pulled the stats out, and I do not want to be the kiss of death. I'm sure this won't happen. So Notts won 4-1 at Crystal Palace on the opening game. You're quite right. There was a league game again. There was a League Cup game. I'm just pulling the stats up here as we talk, where we lost 4-3 at home to Doncaster. Randall 2 and Stubbs. Then our first home game in Division 2, the second tier, the Championship, as it then was. Notts County 1. Your scouting trip, you obviously passed on a few pearls of wisdom, you and David. Notts County 1, Sunderland 4. So I presume Jimmy didn't send you on too many more scouting trips after that.
We didn't do any more after that.
Oh dear. What else have we got? John Collins. I presume that's the Notts fan, not the former Nottingham City Council leader, who was a big Watford fan. A piece of useless information for you there. I remember driving back from holiday to Leicester for the first game of the season. Good shout. 1983-84. We won 4-0 and the fans were ecstatic. Then at the end of the season, we were relegated. I think to use Chloe's analogy of Barnet could be the best game of the season, it was definitely downhill after we'd been to Leicester and won 4-0. Jurgen Halligan can remember 79-80, beat Cardiff 4-1 opening game. Yeah, I think we did. It's funny. Opening days you tend to always remember, don't you? You always remember them. And I certainly suspect that we will remember Barnet for the foreseeable future. Torquay, Wrexham, 2 games in 3 days. I'm reminded of our pundit of the year. He narrowly edged both of you to our very close vote, Mark Stallard. And Mark has a habit of kind of hitting nails on head. And he looked on our show last week and he said, really important, getting a good start, getting a bit of early momentum. And he looked at the first 10 fixtures and Torquay, Wrexham, clearly very difficult. But Mark was saying that of that block of 10, there was a real opportunity to potentially win 8 of them. If you win 8 of those 10, I guarantee you'll be top of the table with a momentum that Torquay had. Didn't ultimately get them over the line. But Les, momentum's a very powerful thing in football. We have not really come out of the traps in either of our previous 2 National League seasons, have we? And several of us have reminded us on the message board tonight, losing 1-0 at Dover in the corresponding fixture to start last season.
Yeah, if you go back to the start of the new owners campaign, I think we brought in 7 players on the Thursday before our first home league game away. Was it at Eastleigh? Players were getting to meet each other on the way to the game and in the dressing room. It was, and then I think another 3 came in during the week. So it was a very, very slow start that season, understandably. But last year, you know, we'd lost to at the end of that season, we lost to Harrogate. So we were very optimistic at the start of last season, and we went down to Dover and got beat. So that was not a good start at all. Though we picked up after that, didn't we? We got a couple of wins after that. So, and I know in going back to the days when Jimmy was there, I know initially we didn't start particularly well. If you go back and look at Barrow 2 years ago, they didn't start particularly well. Torquay were bombing it at the start of last season and then fell away, didn't they? It's a difficult one, but my feelings are that you can't beat winning. As a player, you can't beat winning a match. It just puts you on the adrenaline's buzzing. You cannot beat winning. There's nothing like it. The confidence that comes through winning a football game is like nothing on this earth. Those lads will not wait to get out there on Saturday to perform again in front of the home crowd. It goes with the territory. So sometimes it doesn't work out. Stockport played at home on Saturday. Everything's buzzing there, isn't it? And bump, they come unstuck at home. I think they're going to be a dark horse this season, Dagenham. I think Solihull will probably be another one, with Neil Ardley. We know what Neil does and how he plays, and he certainly makes life difficult for the opposition. So there's going to be some tough teams in there to beat. Grimsby haven't played yet, have they? And Southend, I think it's got all the makings of a very good season. And we've got a tough weekend. Torquay at home. One thing we have forgot to mention about Torquay is the club are recognising the NHS staff and what they've done over the last 18 months, and they're inviting all the staff down free of charge to the game on Saturday as a thank you for all what they've done. And I think that's important. That's a big plus for Notts County Football Club to do that. It's something that I'm sure the owners have thought out thoroughly, and they want to thank the NHS. So so hopefully we can get 6,000 or 7,000 crowd in there, get behind the lads, and I'll settle for the scoreline from last season, a 1-0 win. But I'm sure the manager and the players will be wanting to bang in another 4 or 5 goals. So let's keep our fingers crossed that that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, very well done, the club, regards the NHS and putting a little something back to tangibly recognise the efforts of our NHS frontline workforce. Yes, Chloe. So we've sold highest level of season tickets, 3.5, whatever it is. Not sure how many Torquay fans will make the journey. Not the greatest time to be toing and froing from the West Coast, is it? On a Saturday, on a bank holiday. I've got to say, any Torquay fans that make that journey, that could be a lot. Well, certainly coming, that could be a very long journey. Leslie's talking 6,000 to 7,000. What do you reckon we'll get crowd-wise on Saturday?
I reckon 6. I think that's quite a solid number. Thinking we've got over 3,500 season ticket holders roughly. You'd imagine almost all of them will be able to attend. Obviously, there's always kind of a percentage that can't go for whatever reason, but I imagine upward of 3,000 season ticket holders being there, and then that being matched by kind of people just buying a ticket, whether that's on the day. The weather always helps. It's supposed to be a nice weekend, like you say, bank holiday. All of this is adding to it. And a lot of people kind of that do have season ticket holders have friends and family that will look at the Barnet result and go, I might go and watch them on Saturday. But it should be kind of a bumper crowd, some great atmosphere. I remember working the Torquay game last time we played them in the National League, and they had over 1,000 turn up without a ticket. So that was a very hectic kind of half an hour before kickoff, because they all turn up from the pub at the same time and all want to get a ticket at the same time. So that's always difficult. But I can't imagine them bringing so many this time, I suppose. Where they've kind of lost a few key players and maybe not had the best start. And obviously it's a long journey, but they do travel well anyway. So I imagine a good few hundred of them will turn up. Yeah, I'm expecting it's similar to Les, really. Hopefully upward of 6,000. That would be a great first game of the season. And I don't know whether the owners are coming. I noticed they were there at the Barnet game, but it'd be great for them to kind of sit back, look at all the work they've done, and see kind of a fuller medal lane than we've seen recently, and just kind of sit back and enjoy and hopefully watch a good game of football. And then a lot of people might, after the game, think, I fancy Wrexham on Monday after a good result. It kind of, you do notice after a good result, the turnaround for the next game then gets more popular. So it's always good. And I know the ticket office is pretty much always open after the match. So a lot of people, once they've seen a good game, they pop by afterwards and think, yeah, I do fancy it. So hopefully that'll bump numbers up for the Wrexham game and then the following home games. And then hopefully we carry it on for the rest of the season. It's a big ask, but it's kind of like a snowball effect as such. You play a good game, you get a win, and then that just kind of ripples into, yeah, we'll keep going. So hopefully upward of 6,000, I would like to think.
6,000 and above would be a remarkable attendance. I didn't actually notice too many of the other attendances. I don't know what Torquay got for their Stockport got for their first home game. But yeah, I think if you can get 6,000, that is a remarkable attendance. Now, Wrexham tickets, I believe, Chloe, have gone on sale today. The match is on television, but I think I'm right in saying we've got roughly 1,000 we've been given by Wrexham for that game.
Yeah, so I haven't been at the ticket office recently, so I'm not sure on exact numbers, so I wouldn't quote me for it. But I do know they have quite a significant away section. I think that obviously we've spoken about it before, how many season ticket holders they've got, over 5,000.
Hasn't it? Yes.
Yeah, and they even had I think it was up to 7,000 interest, which is remarkable from a National League club, no matter who you are. So I imagine that will be a very full game, and I think that we'll do well. We travel well, to be perfectly honest. Like you say, if we get another good result against Torquay, or even just play really well, you'll be seeing more and more people go to Wrexham. I think it's a little bit disappointing that it's on a Monday night. I know it is bank holiday, but usually our fixtures, if you're the later kickoff, it's usually about 5:20. So maybe that'll put a few people off, because it is a couple of hours, and by the time the game's finished, you're talking getting home for midnight. I know there's no trains back. So it's difficult whether you either got to stay over, which a lot of people won't because they'll be at work on Tuesday, or they've got to get the coach. So it does put a lot of people off. And with it being on TV, again, it's difficult. But I still think we'll get a good few hundred up there. It'd be nice to see upward of 500. It might be a big ask. But like you say, just good results, and then people will follow us, and we'll keep bumping them crowds up, because for example, someone comes to Barnet, doesn't usually go before, they'll think, I might go to a few more now. So it all helps, and obviously that positive result is going to help the crowd at Torquay, and then hopefully that ripples on to Wrexham as well. But it's a massive advantage having fans. I think that showed yesterday as well. We scored all 5 of our goals into the away end where all the fans are, and it must have given them a boost to carry on. That was the really important thing that I took away from Saturday, whereas last season, the season before, we tended to score 1 or 2 and maybe sit back a little bit and want to defend, but after every goal we were still going, after the 5th one went, and we're still going forward. So yeah, it's really important that we've got some kind of positive kind of attacking play. It attracts people back. People want to be excited. They want their to bums off seats, kind of Cal Roberts magic, Rodrigues magic. And now we've seen a bit more of that. Hopefully it'll carry on, and we'll get those bumper crowds all the way through the season.
John Collins, with an H in John, says, with the air of someone who's had this pointed out to him before, the leader of the council was John without an H. Well, we've educated people on that one, Mr. Collins. What else have we got here? Dave Woolley asks, how do NHS staff get in for free? I'm sure if you check with the club the exact policy and what's happening with that, they'll be able to explain to you, and keep an eye out on the club website, Dave. Matt Bennott, Stockport attendance was 5,200. And just for a little bit more precise detail from Pythagorean, Stockport attendance versus Dagenham was 5,265. So that is the one to beat. Yeah. As far as we're concerned, on Saturday. Not quite sure whether Wrexham are at home both games or whether they are away on the Saturday. But I would suspect that Wrexham and ourselves will be 2 clubs vying for biggest attendance, certainly in the first month or so of the season, depending what levels of capacity Wrexham can get their ground up 2. We're coming to the end of the show. Chloe makes a good point there, Les, and I know this is something that you feel affects some players positively and even some players negatively. Fans back in the ground, specifically with relation to Notts at Meadow Lane, where I think you felt away teams got a bit, not an advantage, but were not as so much at a disadvantage when Meadow Lane was empty. You think with Meadow Lane rocking with plenty of fans, that's going to help us, correct?
Massive help to the players. I just loved to come out of that tunnel before the game started and hear the fans chanting your name and go across and salute them and build that rapport. And the lads shooting in before getting behind the lads. He built you up ready to start the game on the front foot, and it's just a massive plus. And if those fans can come in numbers and get behind the lads, then it's just a massive plus for everybody concerned.
Yeah, I think we all echo those sentiments. It will be great with you orchestrating the 70s era Cyril Championship and promotion winners twice in 3 years. It'll be great to see those guys again, and we'll all get to see them at half time. Promises to be a gala occasion as football returns to Meadow Lane in terms of all of us who want to go. Obviously, at the end of last season, we had the playoff game against Chesterfield, but that was capped and not everybody could get in. But I think I'm right in saying, Chloe, every single Notts fan that wants to come on Saturday is going to be able to get in. There are no caps, governments, percentages, and all of those sorts of things within reason. Everybody who wants to be able to come on Saturday to Meadow Lane, you can come on down, correct?
Absolutely. And I also imagine, because we have got quite a big ground, I know some people will feel uncomfortable in big crowds still. And my kind of advice would probably be stick yourself in the pavis, go to one of the far ends. They tend to be the quietest. So if you want to be away from people, there's definitely going to be space. And I suppose if you did want to speak to anyone at the ticket office, they'd be happy to put you in a block where they think you'll get the most kind of space around you. So yeah, everyone should feel safe, everyone should feel welcome, and yeah, get yourselves down there on Saturday.
I think everyone, it's fair to say everyone is buzzing. Steve Ramage says, great show again, Paul. Thank you. It's you guys that make it and my guests. Dale Pikett, Paul, we are Wrexham's first home game as they have Eastleigh away on Saturday. Okay, so it will be nice to think that going into the weekend or going into Saturday evening, we would have the largest attendance so far in the National League. I think that certainly would be base camp, if you like, for want of a better phrase. You can see a shirt from Thumb behind me, Kewell Roberts. We've got a competition to win his pre-season match-worn shirts from last season, the 2021. And I think it has been interesting. Club have been very supportive. The players themselves, we were fortunate to have Kewell Roberts as a guest on our show last week, one of the most popular shows we've done. Hour and a half, spoke extremely well. Some great stories from Kel, if you've not already watched it. We also did a great extended one-on-one interview with Kyle Cameron. And we also, with our Magpie Circle sponsored player, did an interview with Richard Brindley. Our other sort of fan Notts County channel, Notts County Talk, also did an excellent interview with Dion Kelly-Evans. And I think it's very good that the players and the club are prepared to offer up these opportunities, and the players are there to communicate, and they've all done extremely well in all of their interviews. Very, very generous in their time, and I think it's all part and parcel, Les, of building up a community and engaging as much as possible as we can with fans, because I think down the years, Notts County has historically been a very, very community-based football club. We are the smaller of the two clubs in Nottingham. That's just an historical fact for 50 years. But I think it is important that we engage and we communicate between players and fans, particularly in times of hardship. And I'm always remembered of the many stories that you have told me and others about how back in the day, players would be attending all sorts of events and those sorts of things. And in recent times, players were ringing fans up during COVID, like you were. I think your granddad got a call from someone, Chloe. It's good to see, and great that we can get such an emphatic emphatic win on our first game, get a bit of momentum, and get a real community flavour and spirit together, Les.
Yeah, obviously it was a little easier in my day because if you signed for a club, you moved to that club, you lived at that club, you couldn't travel 2, 3, 4 hours in each day to train. So you were committed to being in that area. And certainly in my case, and virtually every other player that I know that has played for the club, they became part of the community. And Jimmy Searle frequently put up notices on the notice board saying that there was a charity event. Players are being asked to go to raise funds to push pennies over somewhere. And generally the whole team used to go. I think it was an excuse to get out for a pint, but we generally went and supported, and through doing that we got to know firsthand many supporters. I know virtually all the not supporters now, and through meeting and I think it's good that the supporters get to know the players, because they see this person on the pitch and they believe that that person is, shall we say, 100% every game. They can't quite understand why he's not doing this or he's not doing that. He might just not feel 100% that day, just like some people, when they go to work, they're not on it for the day. And that happens to players as well. So it's good to know people firsthand, and you got to know them as friends. And I've made many personal friends through the football club and the community, and it's massively important. And unfortunately, over recent years, the finances involved at the top end, it's sort of, for me, has alienated players from the community. And they've not been communicating for me as they should. And I think moves are being made to try and make that work. I'm just so proud that Notts County Football Club does everything that it possibly can to be a community club. Alice Kelt is the fan liaison officer, and she takes calls when I've been down there from all different types of supporters, people with issues, with mental health issues. There's so many things going on, and the club is always there to help them. We had a 90-year-old, it was his ambition to score a goal on medal, and he went in on the pitch and kicked the ball in. You know, everything that possibly can be done is being done, and the club is so, for me, it's fantastic working with the community.
And I think, Curry, after one of the games pre-season, the gaffer, Mr. Burchnall, he was having a drink in the pub in the Navy, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. It was a bit of a strange one. We were I was with a big group of my friends, and we was walking out, and he literally just walked in with a pint, got and sat down. But it's great to see he was happy, more than happy to take photos. I know loads of people that go to the Nav after the game. He was having photos with everyone. His pint was probably flat by the time he got to it. But like Les says, we've always been a community club, and I think everyone will agree with me when I say everyone feels really welcome. We've always had events on, obviously pre-COVID, with kind of managers. I've been to pretty much all of them that have been on, where they kind of do Q&As. I know we always used to do a quiz night, and the players used to go and the manager used to be there. And I think it's great that a lot of people at the club feel really connected. And hopefully, obviously, now COVID's hopefully passing, we can get a little bit more of that. But it's just great when the players come over and celebrate with the fans like that. It's just the little things that I think people are really connected to the club. Even in COVID, they've obviously done great things to keep kind of close with the fans. An excellent stream. I think that made all the difference last season. Fans felt they were really being looked after by the club. And I think they know how important they are to the club. And then obviously with the phone calls from all the managers, Les, and everyone else that chipped in. It is really great to see. And even on Twitter, a lot of people, they reply to fans and they like to get involved. And it is just a really nice atmosphere, kind of, even when we are down in the dumps a little bit, everyone still feels welcome and really happy to always be at Meadow Lane. And it has always been great to see. And it's always been nice to support a club that you feel important to them, and you know how important you are as a supporter to Notts County. And it is just a great atmosphere. Whoever you speak to behind the scenes, they're all lovely, more than welcoming, happy to have a chat with you. I know also a lot of times kind of in midweek, we used to have a couple of players go in every now and again, and all the kids get go and take photos and sign autographs. And there's been so many events that it's hard to kind of remember everyone that they've done. I know they do a lot of events with the junior Magpies, like the Christmas kind of get together. There's so many. And I think we've got to remember how lucky we are to have a club like we do, especially compared to the bigger clubs where it's more difficult to maybe feel connected. But it's a great club to be involved with as a fan, and to be lucky enough to work behind the scenes, even if it is just that little bit in the ticket office. You get a really good sense of community, and it really is a great club to support.
Yeah, and I think echoing those sentiments, if we used Kewell Roberts' interview for our show last week, when we published a few promotional clips for it, bit of banter. He talks about, getting some of the lads to binge watch the early series of Geordie Shore with him. How the lads all talk about Love Island over breakfast. Is it the last show tonight, Chloe? I mean, I'm not going to ask Les. He would have a clue like me. Is it the last one tonight, Chloe?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, you think so? You watch it bloody every night. Target market. But the fact that Kel talks, both from a banter, engages with us, liking the stuff, doing his bits and pieces. It's not about promoting this show. The show is a conduit between players, management, the club, and the fans. And any kind of, they're not barriers, but any more informations that you can share so that players, that fans feel a more active part, so that players can demonstrate a different side of their character, because we form an impression as supporters of players just on that 90 minutes, just on a 60-second or a 2-minute sound bite, and our sort of more in-depth interviews give fans a chance just to sort of see a bit behind the mask. For Kel to talk about, the 2 Labradors he's got back up in the northeast. 3 of them living in a not dissimilar establishment not too far from Collick Racecourse. Who can cook, who can't. All of that stuff people love to lap up because it's a little bit behind the mask of the player. And done right and done properly and done fairly, that can enhance and get people a little bit more closely together. Moddy Moby just makes a good point. Totally agree. The media team have also upped the content with behind-the-scenes training footage, which is brilliant to connect the club with the fans. Yeah, saw some of that miking up the head coach, going behind the scenes at the training ground. It's all good. And look, clearly, you can do all of this, and you can do it fairly straightforwardly when you're winning games. When you're not winning games, the margin for error becomes a little bit more difficult. But we've played 1, won 1, scored 5, conceded none, and we're top. So, Les, it don't get much better than this. Before you are plunged into total darkness there, you've got a lovely silhouette going on there.
I didn't think I needed to put the light on.
Yeah, I must congratulate you. Do you remember in them first shows we had last year when you had that cuckoo clock that kept going off on the hour? This cuckoo coming out from the background. What the hell? At least you could have get a magpie clock rather than a cuckoo clock, you know. Yeah. But look, we better wrap up. We've done 74 minutes. Chloe, thank you very much as always. So I wasn't able to make it Saturday. I do hope to be back in my Pavis seat on Saturday. Sadly, you won't be there, Chloe. We'll both be at Wrexham. You will be at Torquay, and you will be there, Les, with a selection of our true legends from the 70s. And I am sure they're all going to get a huge welcome from everyone, and on behalf of all fans, our thanks for the fantastic work that you do. And let us be honest, without you, we would not be having this reunion of those players and your former teammates on Saturday. So thank you and well done for all the work that you put in to making that happen.
It's just going to be wonderful to see everybody again and celebrate those years during the 70s that meant so much to each and every one of those single players. And it's very, very high in my memories. I look back over my life, wonderful times, playing with wonderful players, management teams, Jack Wheeler. We mustn't forget Jack Wheeler, of course. And no, it's something that needs celebrating, definitely.
Les, let's finish on that very positive note. Chloe, thank you again, as always, for your time. Leslie, thank you. And thank you to each and every one of our listeners and viewers this evening. Big audience tonight. Thank you very much. Don't forget, we've got another show, Kevin Nicholson and Lee Curtis on Wednesday evening at 7 o'clock. If you've not entered the competition to win this guy's match-worn shirt, get onto our site and click that red button, subscribe, and just post us a quick message. Look forward to seeing you all again soon. Thank you and good night.